Anse, good evening. I'm Krista Nachkate. Welcome to APTN National News. Thank you for joining us. The RCMP continued to investigate the mass stabbings that shook the Hollow Water First Nation, a community of about 1,000 people on the east shore of Lake Winnipeg. As details are still being sorted out, a family member is speaking out, hoping to make an appeal to those currently caught up in drugs and violence. With more, here's T.R. Wheatley.
Jordan Hamilton is still processing what unfolded in Hollow Water First Nation on Thursday morning. His father, Michael Raven, was one of 8 victims stabbed and brought to a Winnipeg hospital.
Yeah, he was stabbed a couple of times in the back, punctured lung, but then when he went to the x-rays, they told him that there was no serious damage on his lung or his spine, right? So he was discharged.
Hamilton says his dad and one of his cousins were stabbed inside his dad's home by 26-year-old Tyrone Simard, who also happens to be Hamilton's second cousin.
My dad said, he came back twice. He hit him, he fought him once, and he came back the second time when he was sleeping. Kicked in the door and then stabbed my dad, right?
Hamilton says Simard stabbed the other 6 victims in 2 separate homes in Hollow Water. One of the victims was killed, Tyrone's sister, 18-year-old Marina Simard. Tyrone was killed after colliding with an RCMP cruiser on the way to the scene. The officer is expected to make a full recovery.
I can't blame the family that happened, right? I don't blame them at all for once. Stuff happens like this, drugs are crazy, they're out of hand right now.
Simard was out on bail on other charges. Court records show he was charged with assault with a weapon and mischief for alleged offenses that took place on June 8th. Records show he was released on June 12 on conditions including a curfew and an order to not use drugs or alcohol or possess weapons. He also faced charges dating back to 2017 for sexual assault, sexual interference, and invitation to sexual touching that were never proven in court. This week, the Assembly of First Nations held their annual meeting in Winnipeg, where amongst 50 resolutions included one to get a Canada-wide state of emergency to deal with the drug, alcohol crisis in First Nations as tragedies like the one in Hollow Water continue to plague communities.
And we are praying for the healing and and we want to hope for healing for all of those people affected just a few years ago on the exact same day that this same senseless act happened in a Saskatchewan community in James Smith. And I hope that those 2 communities can connect and be together. But in this moment, I ask for all of us to pray for both of those communities.
In a statement, Manitoba's Shared Health said that 4 patients remain in hospital on Friday, while the other 3, including Hamilton's dad, were discharged and taken back to Hollow Water.
I just want to put out the word out there, for everybody to be safe, and think over this, what happened, right? And start working on the community and get people going, in these programs, right? Get them sober.
Crediting programs like the one he's currently in called Magoon Transition Inc. for turning things around.
What made me want to change is when I seen what I was doing to other people's families. Me dealing this meth and all that, methamphetamine, that was my choice of drug, right? So when I noticed that, I wanted to sober up my life and get clean and go back home when my wife was ready. And now she's ready, so that we can go help our community clean up too, right?
In hopes of preventing other tragedies like this one. T.R. Wheatley, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
30 years ago, an Ontario provincial police sniper took the life of an unarmed First Nations man, Dudley George. The raid by the OPP happened at the Ipperwash Provincial Park on September 4th, 1995, when the Ojibwe community of Kettle and Stony Point were demanding the province and the federal government to return the Ipperwash Provincial Park to them after it was expropriated by the military during the Second World War. In response to public pressure, the Ontario government ordered the Ipperwash inquiry. It began in 2007, 7 years after Dudley George's death. The final report included 100 recommendations for implementation. In a press release, Anishinaabe Grand Council Chief Linda DeBoschi says the government continues to ignore treaty rights. She added, "History has proven this as we remember the events that led to the tragic incident at Ipperwash Provincial Park and the inaction of the Government of Ontario to prevent it. We need expedited processes that will ensure tragedies like Ipperwash never happen again." According to the Anishinaabe Nation, there has been little to no movement on the implementation of those recommendations. The Assembly of First Nations annual summer meeting wrapped up in Winnipeg on its third and final day on Friday. The day's event was dominated by an emergency press conference held by the Mathias Colomb Cree Nation this morning. The First Nation in northern Manitoba has been evacuated from the community for more than 100 days, and more challenges are beginning to show. The First Nation wants a generator to provide power so its members can begin returning home, but both Ottawa and the province are locked in a jurisdictional dispute over who should pay for it. APTN's Fraser Needham has that story.
At a press conference in Winnipeg on Friday morning, it was clear that Mathias Colomb Cree Nation Chief Gordy Bear is feeling the strain after being forced out of his community for more than 3 months.
We gotta get home. We gotta get home. Our children are suffering. We're suffering. We're trying to keep each other intact as leaders, as supporters.
First Nations members have been under forced evacuation since late spring due to wildfires. They now want to buy a generator for roughly $8 million, but as Manitoba Kiiwetinawi Okamakinak Grand Chief Garrison Settee says, both Ottawa and the province can't agree on who should pay for it.
They have a solution to get the power back on in their nation. They brought forth a way that they can take their people home. But no one wants to pay.
In a letter from Indigenous Services Minister Mandy Galmasti to Mathias Colomb dated September 4th, as Manitoba Hydro is the entity responsible for providing reliable power to Manitobans and for operating the customer's best interest and being responsive to their needs, the introduction of an alternative power source to alleviate the extended outages being experienced by Mathias Colomb is fundamentally a Manitoba Hydro responsibility. The letter goes on to say, "I understand that Mathias Colomb Cree Nation is already engaged in discussions with Manitoba Hydro on proposed power generation installation and ongoing operation and maintenance, and Manitoba Hydro has confirmed the technical feasibility. The department has sent letters to Honourable Minister Adrian Sala, Minister responsible for Manitoba Hydro, seeking confirmation of Manitoba Hydro's intentions to fund Mathias Colomb Cree Nation's proposal." Glenn Dumas is the First Nations fire chief. He says 12 community members have passed away since the forced evacuation began, and a lot of money could have been saved by both levels of government had they provided funds for the generator weeks ago.
The government has spent over $160 million keeping the Mathias Colomb Cree Nation members in Niagara Falls, in Winnipeg, the Paw, Brandon, and wherever else they placed our people.
AFN National Chief Cindy Woodhouse-Neepanak was also at the press conference. She says the time for jurisdictional arguments is over and Ottawa and Manitoba need to find a solution now.
Create that trilateral table ASAP, like today, and get it moving and figure this out. It shouldn't be that difficult.
Late in the day, Manitoba Hydro sent APTN News an emailed statement that they expect to have partial power restored to the community by September 11th and full power restored by September 28th. They also said they have been in discussions with the community about what is needed for permanent backup power generation, but were unable to comment further. APTN also reached out to Indigenous Services but did not hear back by airtime. Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Migma land protectors are blocking logging trucks in Unama'ki, Migma for Cape Breton, to protest the clear-cutting in the mountains they say are threatening the moose population and traditional medicines. About 40 Migma land protectors blocked a logging road in Unama'ki, Cape Breton, and seized the wood from this truck. They are setting up a roadblock to prevent trucks from transporting wood from the mountains and will keep confiscating wood from any truck leaving the area. The land protectors say clear cutting is destroying the habitat of the moose population and traditional medicines, and the Migma people were not consulted with and are prepared to block more logging roads until the clear cutting stops and the provincial government consults with the Migma to save the forests. More land protectors are expected to help block the logging roads. APTN News will continue following this story as it develops. The wildfire situation in BC has grown extensively over the last week, with officials reporting more than 5,900 lightning strikes and hundreds of new fires, with many that are out of control. These videos from social media show the volatile situation along the Coquihalla Highway with fire burning on both sides. That highway has been closed in both directions. There are currently 375 fires now burning in BC. The province has issued local state of emergencies as evacuation orders are expanded. All throughout the province, thick smoke has blanketed many communities, and just a few days ago, Vancouver was rated as the worst air quality in the world.
You can find more information about prohibitions, evacuations, driving conditions, and the current wildfire situation on the BC Wildfire Service website or app. We are expecting more wildfire starts in the coming days, urging everyone to continue to do their part, report wildfires. Even if you believe that it may have already been reported, please do so by going on and visiting the Wildfire app or calling star 5555 from a cell phone. We're working hard to make sure resources are in position and available to keep people and communities safe.
As the wildfires in the Northwest Territories continue to burn, a former member of Parliament has called out the handling of the situation. Here's APTN video journalist Bruce Dela Cruz with that story.
That's former Member of Parliament Michael McLeod, who served the federal riding of Northwest Territories for 10 years. In this video, that was taken at the Hay River Evacuation Center and posted on social media on September 2nd, McLeod is seen having strong things to say to Premier R.J. Simpson on the territorial government's response to the recent wildfires.
A community is going to burn. Whether it's our community, Watchee, or Jinglary, some place is going to burn, but you don't do anything until the fire is at our doorstep.
Michael McLeod, who grew up and still lives in the community of Fort Providence, continues by asking the Premier if the government is capable of handling this and future wildfires.
Will you consider turning back the responsibility for firefighting in the Northwest Territories to the federal government so they will help us? Because we live in Indigenous communities, you guys are providing us nothing to prevent fires. Nothing. Not one drop of fire retardant in my community. Not one water bomber dropped a load yet. That's an embarrassment.
APTN News attempted to contact both parties for further comment. Michael McLeod did not respond at the time of this broadcast, while R.J. Simpson emailed us a statement saying evacuees across the Northwest Territories are under immense stress right now, and the frustrations expressed by some residents of Fort Providence are understandable. Fire crews have worked relentlessly under extremely challenging conditions and managed to control or extinguish more than 100 fires this season. However, wildfire is a natural and necessary occurrence that no government can completely control. Safety must always come first, for the people in our communities and for the crews on the ground and in the air. The community of Fort Providence has been on an evacuation order since August 31st, with the nearby community of Hay River providing support. On Tuesday, September 2nd, an ignition operation to reduce threats to Fort Providence was completed, with the ignition line holding at the time of this broadcast. Bruce Dela Cruz, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
We'll have more news after the break. Stay with us. welcome back. The Innu Nation and the Nunatsiavut government say the Newfoundland and Labrador provincial government misrepresented Indigenous identity at a ceremony and unveiling of artwork at the Confederation Building in St. John's. They commemorated the culture and history of the Nunatsiavut Community Council, or NCC. Provincial politicians and Nunatsiavut leadership attended the event, where art by an NCC artist will be on display in the lobby of the Confederation Building. Premier John Hogan said in a press release that the unveiling promotes Indigenous culture. The Innu Nation and Nunatsiavut government, which represents the Inuit of Labrador, say they do not recognize the NCC as an Indigenous governing body. In June of 2024, the federal court ruled that NCC is not recognized as an Indigenous group with Section 35 rights. Johannes Lamp is the president of the Nunatsiavut government. He says the province is acting as a surrogate for a group making false claims.
But we as Labrador Inuit, we have our language, we have our culture, we have our way of life, and we will continue to keep that because it is a value to us, and what is of value to us, we will pass down to our children and our grandchildren, and we will continue to fight hard, for what is rightfully ours.
With fall just around the corner, that means a new season of our current affairs shows are waiting in the wings. Our host Dennis Ward is working hard on a new season of Face to Face, which premieres on September 30th. A new season of APTN Investigates is also set to air on Saturday, October 11th. And on October 9th, APTN's Nation to Nation will be back with a brand new host. Our senior web reporter, Karen Pugliese, will take over as the host and chair to bring the latest from Parliament Hill in Ottawa. She joins us now to talk more about her important role. Karen, thanks so much for chatting with us, and glad you can spare a few minutes away from the AFN Assembly here in Winnipeg to be with us. First off, congratulations on being named our new host of APTN's Nation to Nation. Can you tell us what the audience can expect to see on the upcoming season?
Well, I think we're probably going to start back looking at sort of the wild summer that it's been. There's been so much going on, even though it's summer, there's been so much going on politically. With the AFN having its AGA, as you mentioned, first time they've been together since the First Nations Summit, the One Economy Bill going ahead. There's been forest fires, which have raised a lot of concerns about climate change. There's so much going on. So we will be sticking with the politics, but looking at all of that.
And Karen, you touched on it a little bit there, but what topics are you most concerned about and want to tackle first on the show?
I've been doing a lot of work on Jordan's Principle, and I've been putting in a lot of access to information requests to try to get statistics and numbers out of the government. I want to understand more about what's happened to communities since they've been cut off. I'm getting emails all the time from people who are concerned that programs have been cut and services have been cut, and please keep them coming. I will keep telling those stories. So Jordan's Principle is a big one. The other one that came up at the Assembly that I think has just maybe dropped off too much of the news cycle is the opioid crisis. There's an opioid crisis going on in my community. We're under a state of emergency, and I know many communities out there are. So that's something I want to take a look at as well.
And do you have any guests in mind that you want to get on the show first?
I definitely want to be talking to Cindy Blackstock again. There's going to be so much happening with child welfare. That's another big one, with the government having just been compelled by the Canadian Human Rights Tribunal to get back to the table and resolve discrimination against First Nations children in child welfare. So we're going to have her on. We're going to have Jeff Copenas on. He's got, his community has been almost completely cut off of Jordan's Principle programming, and they're under a state of emergency. So those are two guests that I've got in mind, and of course we'll be rotating. We'll be rotating a little bit with whatever happens. I mean, it's news. Things come up, and we just want to be there for it.
Finally, Karen, as we said, you've been busy covering the AFN Assembly here in Winnipeg this week. What do you think were some of the big topics discussed by the chiefs?
Definitely, as I mentioned, the opioid crisis, child welfare, as I mentioned, came back up. Really interesting resolution on child welfare, with chiefs deciding to compel the AFN to spend $1 million out of its budget to support the new Chiefs Commission that's going to be negotiating for chiefs outside of Ontario. I've never seen that before, and I'm curious as if it's even possible for the AFN to come through on that money, just because of the way that AFN rules are governed. That's going to be an interesting story to follow. There was a lot that came up at the Assembly. I think I filed 4 or 5 stories in 2 days, so you can read them online. They're all there.
It's been a very, very busy week for all of us. Well, congratulations again, Karen, on the new job, and we all look forward to watching the new season of Nation to Nation starting October 9th.
Yeah, thank you.
The latest artist, Daphne Ojig, is being remembered with a new toonie. That story when we come back. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Time now for our photo of the day. Some interesting clouds over Barons River, Manitoba. A big thanks to Abigail Eastman for sharing today's photo with us. If you want to be featured on APTN National News, email your pictures to share at aptn.ca. Time now to take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. St. John's 21, Charlottetown 23 and sunny. Cartwright 17 and sunny there. Happy Valley Goose Bay 23. Quebec City, rain and 19. Montreal, 19 and partly cloudy. Sunny in Toronto at 22. Sarnia at 20. Sioux, Lookout 10. Thunder Bay, sunny and 14. Puckatawagan, sunny there and 14. Thompson, 11 and sun's out there. Gimli, 13. Rain in Princess Harbour at 12. Sunny in Swift Current at 20. Regina, 21. Meadow Lake 22, Larange 12, High Level 26, Grand Prairie 30 and sunny, 27 in Medicine Hat, Calgary 25, 16 in Tofino, Bellacoola 24, Sand Spit 16, Smithers 29, Old Crow 10, Dawson 18 and rain there. Wrigley, showers in 16, Wati 21. Tuktoyaktuk 3, Polituck 4 and rain. Chesterfield 7, Baker Lake 8. And finally, Arctic Bay -1, Aglulik +1. And finally for us, the Royal Canadian Mint is launching a new commemorative coin in honor of the late Daphne Ojig. Ojig was a celebrated painter and printmaker who hailed from Manitoulin Island's Wikwemekong Reserve of Ottawa. In addition to her own influential work, she was a driving force in how Indigenous art was perceived, helping it gain recognition in major galleries and exhibits in Canada and beyond. The new $2 coin depicts her paintings, the folk singer, and the Indian in transition. The coin began circulating on Thursday. And that's your evening newscast for this Friday. We're back for your weekend edition newscast on Saturday and again on Monday for your daytime newscast. Please join us then. From all of us at APTN National News, have a safe weekend with family, and we'll see you again next day.